Our speaker today is Frank Dixon. He describes himself as a retired civil servant who, ever since his retirement, has been writing books, one of which was legitimately published. He wrote that, not me. So Frank, you want to come up?
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Get this on straight.
You did good, Tip.
Oh, thank you. And your son brought this drink up here for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. See, I can see this a little better. The print is large, but it's not large enough, so I have to get closer to it. My son is here. He was going to do this, but Tip, thank you. Jesus, that's a word we don't hear very often in this church. Jesus asked us to love, and he meant love as an action verb. The philosopher Spinoza suggested that we understand, and he also sought to inspire action. Merged as one, these two historical figures advised us to fall in love with the desire to understand. Both were aware that following that advice would be difficult, perhaps even painful. Some say Jesus offered life in heaven as a reward. Spinoza offered only a better life. But they both left us wondering, what exactly should I do? What exactly should I do? I ask you to think about that as we proceed. Jesus quoted a well-known line from the Torah. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, and thy neighbor as thyself. After hearing this advice, a Pharisee asked, seeking to trip up Jesus, he asked a technical detail. Who is my neighbor? Jesus answered with the parable of the Good Samaritan. You can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not written here. I think that's in Luke chapter 14. That's from my Baptist days. Jesus answered with the parable of the Good Samaritan, which identified a supposedly unclean outsider as the neighbor we should love. The Pharisee admitted the Samaritan was indeed a neighbor. Jesus then asked the Pharisee, go and behave as the Samaritan behaved. There's no record of whether the Pharisee took Jesus' advice. Spinoza, my guy, similar advice: it is better to bear patiently the wrongs they may do us as we survive to promote whatever serves to bring about harmony and friendship. Like Jesus' advice, this speaks to the soul, as if to say, find peace in yourself and then go and then go about remaking the world. Jesus and Spinoza told us to understand our persecutors and to love them anyhow. How can that possibly be good advice? Neither of them being fools, perhaps they were telling us to forget about changing the past. We should forget about changing the past. Let the dead bury the dead. History is over. If it were not fulfilled if it were not filled with justice, with injustice, a new ministry would not be needed. The action verbs to love and to understand point forward, not backward. Jesus insisted, and Spinoza implied, if you desire to change the world, then you must first change yourself. Good. They meant that only by picturing an ideal world will we find a way to change the flow of human behavior. Perhaps he expected too much. Most of the 7 going on 8 billion of us live in well-defined rooms within humanity's castle. Signs over the doors identify them as Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, or atheists. Feeling safely ensconced, the believers feel that their doubts are frivolous and their convictions sacred. They're convinced their beliefs shall eventually overcome the others, and that a peaceful kingdom shall thenceforth reign. Burgeoning cupboards enhance the comfort of those sacred rooms. Christians have 2 big cupboards, Protestants and Jews, Protestants and Catholics. One for Protestants, one for Catholics. Each filled with true believers. The Muslims have their Sunni, Shia, and Sufi cabinets. The Hindus, too many to name. Even the Jews have divided their room into distinct enclaves, each committed to a more perfect interpretation of Scripture. Atheists may seem less organized, and their beliefs less doctrinaire, but they struggle in their private niche, equally as devoted to their ideas as the most devoted of the religious people. And yet there remains a thought from my schoolboy days. It's a little longer than I actually thought, but that's okay. Several parallel streams of evolution occurred simultaneously in isolated mud puddles right here on Earth, which explains, better than absolute random mutation, some of the significant differences among the families of organic beings. I gave up on this one much too soon. The fact that all humans seem to have evolved in the resulting mud holes, evolution proper then proceeded to create for divergent life the divergent life forms that populate the earth. Evolution proper then proceeded to create the divergent life forms that now populate the earth. It has been said that all the great religions have the same God at their core and merely travel different roads toward him. That fundamental belief, by geography and wanderlust, stranded humanity upon islands of belief. Like the DNA that drives and determines the physical nature of all living things, the different theologies are merely coherent arrangements of words with the word God as their center. Because primitive peoples had not developed an understanding of the word nature, they may not even have had the word, a greater, more powerful answer eluded them. Nevertheless, the beliefs binding the religions to their experiences developed as good ideas among diverse groups, not only holding the groups together, but also establishing different rules for distinguishing right from wrong. Not being stupid, but only deprived of information, our primitive ancestors developed plausible and marginally workable systems of belief. Of course, their beliefs had all evolved from a common ancestor, an 𝐼-religion, we might call it, which had at its base what Bernard Lonergan, a Catholic philosopher, described as an irreducible desire to know. Every living creature had an irresistible desire to know. Each separate religion may have developed plausible answers, but the cleverness of their creations had not served them well. A sort of inertia drives their theological selves. Their problem lies not in failing to see the commonality of their divine thoughts, but in that they were and remain no different from others who, all things considered, were equally as wrong as they were. Those diverse cultures worked reasonably well until they came face to face with each other. When their different inertial vectors collided, war sometimes broke out. But in every case, their idols suffered severe damage. If this were the full story, hope would be scarce. Fortunately, the story omits a significant detail. Doubt has forever been present. Doubt has forever been present. I have heard from countless Christian friends the same confession. Oh, yes, I have doubts. Who doesn't? But my faith wins out, and I manage to live with my doubts. I suspect faith works that way in all the great religions. By the accident of their birth, belief came to the various peoples inadvertently. They didn't ask for it. They were born into it. And fortunately, perpetuating the tension between faith and doubt that was born in us, a tension between faith and doubt. I remember mine. I was 19 years old. We may picture this in the terms of the philosopher Hobbesian terms. Within our individual minds, each of us harbors a social contract negotiated by our internally conflicting views. Internally conflicting views. Everywhere you look, every person that's worth being called a person has conflicting views. In other words, they have doubts. We kneeled to our personally, divinely inspired monarch and wondered and endowed His Highness with enough power to rule our lives. But of course, only up to a point. For no culture can eliminate humanity's existential freedom. That is something bred into every thinking human being. Existential freedom. We all know we are free. We may have doubts, we may see conflicts, but we know it. We know you are free. We know we are free. A not so recent issue of Smithsonian contains an interesting article called Reversals, quote unquote. The article presented the idea that in order to sustain its life, every species populating the earth possesses a natural way to behave. As true as this is, and must be, the article doesn't go far enough. After pointing out the prolific birth rates of many species by which they persist in being, the article should have pointed out that for its survival, humankind does not rely on a similar power, but rather that more than any other species, humanity gives birth to a multitude of ideas. Many of which are valid. The article might then have gone on to admit that most of our ideas lead to dead ends, but that the useful ones can be as effective as a high birth rate in perpetuating ourselves in being. Mark Twain once said, "Faith is when you believe something you know ain't so." He was referring to the trappings of religion. The miracles and other supernatural filigree crocheted into religious doctrine. Ideas easy for long birth. For prophets and preachers to do, since many people frequently live by emotionally derived faith. They didn't think it through, they just felt it through, rather than by rational ideas. All societies of human beings have created cultural monarchs that rule by emotional appeals that turn on the notion of good versus evil. And in a way, it's good that they did, since with only the natural emotion of desire to guide us, every individual would have timelessly drifted, unable to find common cause with others. In any case, the observation remains true that no culture can ever eliminate our existential freedom. No culture, not even this one, can eliminate our existential freedom. Human beings cannot be programmed to surrender that freedom, although there are those who try. We persist everywhere, freely trying to find a better path, occasionally seeing that we're on the wrong one, thereby reminding us that we exist as potential creators of the ultimate good. We exist as potential creators of the ultimate good. Of course, most of us have not followed up on our doubts. As Jesus and Spinoza pointed out, the way is painful, and as common sense tells us, people tend to shy away from pain. Perhaps aware of this, Jesus, in his ministry, and Spinoza, by the example of his life, gave most of us a way to be transformed without subjecting ourselves to public mistreatment. Jesus advised us to pray in secret. Pray in secret. That is, to privately nurture our salvation. And to let your light so shine among men that they will see your virtue without having to hear you preach it. He imagined that the world would naturally be attracted to beacons of virtue. Spinoza says here that he was a true Christian in spirit. He also said that. Lived a pious life, friendly to all who would have him as a friend, honest to his beliefs, and sharing them as free of cynicism as was possible. He lived as an inwardly focused human being. Both of those men publicly preached their beliefs, Spinoza in writing, Jesus in speech. Their lessons suggest that some of us must also preach to the public. I have in mind the group of men and women who serve as ministers, priests, rabbis, imams, and gurus. I ask them, also speaking to spiritual leaders who have influence on the people, on the sizable and growing number of people who have no religion, no religious affiliation. but consider themselves spiritually mindful. Whoever and wherever these leaders are, these people who feel that they are mindfully righteous, wherever and whenever those leaders are, they have and always have had a significant role to play in transforming the sacred. They're exemplary people, respected for what they know and are. No group is better able to lead a spiritual revolution. Yeah, I guess it would be a revelation too, wouldn't it? It's just a matter of reconciling their doubts and refocusing on the truth of the matter. More to the point, those people must preach emotional reason, a term that means falling in love with knowledge as the means to salvation. This calling may represent a departure from the way those leaders have ministered in the past, but it asks them to find a way to speak with authority of the human desire to perpetuate itself in the here and now. As Browning suggested in his poem, Andrea del Sarto, the reach of the people may exceed their grasp. By improving their grip on reality, they may give the word heaven a legitimate meaning. I ask those ministers, what can be more fulfilling use of your power than to convince your congregations of their responsibility to work unceasingly with the inmost soul of themselves, to see the tragedies running through the reels of history. Every history book is full of those tragedies. Perhaps it will help to treat reason as a sacrament, urging people to find and use their noblest minds to remake their lives. Yes, that's what's at stake. That's what's at stake. The methods of the past have created at best a world of Sabbath angels, quote unquote. Sabbath angels. And at worst, bands of cold-blooded believers at war with the world. These ideas must be transformed. This may seem extremely difficult, certainly impossible for me, as old as I am, but there is a way. It exists in the truth of the matter. If preaching the truth fails to get the job done, then the congregations to whom they preached must bear responsibility. If truth doesn't get the job done, then the people hearing that truth must accept responsibility, as they do not now. It says here, as they do now, but actually they do not. We feel like it's their fault, not mine. Continuance of a world that is not working as well as it might. The best efforts of the clerics may fail, but having devoted their lives to the sacrament we know as reason, reason is a sacrament, something we feel devoted to. The ministers will end their lives knowing they have found the genuine manna from heaven. They can end their lives knowing they have found the genuine manna from heaven, reason itself. The truth, and have sought to break its loaves and fishes into portions adequate for the spreading of joy throughout the world. For unlike real loaves and fishes, joy is infinitely divisible. And no matter how much joy you give away, you still have all you started with. That is the truth, is it not? Think about it. It's not the same as sugar. You give away some sugar, you have less than you had. But joy, oh, that's all I have to say. Thank you.